guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video we'll be learning how to cut an off-shoulder princess that bustier. So the first thing you need to do for an off-shoulder, you take away 5 inches away from this right here. I'll take 5 inches upward, and this is half an inch is for seam allowance. So you take your 5 inches below the half an inch seam allowance. So it depends on how off you want it to be, but 5 inches is the standard. You take 5 inches upward, and then from there you start taking all your vertical measurements. So I have the line bust, I have the under bust. The actual waist I'm working with is 15 inches, then plus half an inch seam allowance, that's 15 and a half, and I added extra 2 inches to it. When you're cutting a princess that bustier, whatever you'll be taking away from the armhole, you need to have measured it to the length of the front bodies, so you don't get short of fabric by the time you are joining. Because if I don't have this extra 2 inches, by the time I want to join it back to the back, the front might be shorter than the back. So I like adding extra 2 inches to it, so even if it is much, I can always trim it off. So I'm done with that. Then so because the style I'm making, I want the zipper at the front, so I already measured the 1.5 for zipper allowance at the front here. So from there, this is the nipple point. My nipple to nipple measurement is 7 inches, and unfold is 3.5. So I added half an inch for seam allowance, so I have 4 inches. So this is it. So I stopped the nipple measurements, the nipple to nipple measurements around the bust area here. I stopped it around here. Then I took the shoulder to shoulder measurement, which is also your back. So my shoulder to shoulder measurement is 7.5. So I also measured 7.5 here. And then my chest line, this is my chest line. So my chest line is 7.5. So because it's an off shoulder, to measure my chest line, I need to take this 5 inches upward, like so. You can see it. I'm taking the 5 inches upward, and then I have my 7.5 here. So but we are still going to reduce the neck of the blouse. So the next thing I want to do now is to take 1 inch on both sides of the under busts, on both sides of the dart. So I'm taking 1 inch away from here, and I'm taking 1 inch away from here as well. So down here I'll be taking 3/4 of an inch down here. Same thing on the other side, 3/4 of an inch. So this is it. You can see it. You can see it. So I'm going to roll the markings now. I'm going to roll it. So I'll roll this one as well. So I'm done rolling this, and so the next thing I want to do is to create the neck before I do the shoulder, the armhole. So the neck I'll be using, my shoulder to shoulder measurement is 7.5, and now because it's an off shoulder, you don't want the neck to be too wide. Okay, so what I will do is I will just take away 1.5 from my shoulder to shoulder measurement, and I will have 6 inches. You can see the 6 inches here. This is the 6 inches. Now I'm going to connect the 6 inches back to the armhole, the initial armhole that was supposed to be here. So the reason why you need to measure your back to your shoulder to shoulder measurement is just to guide you on how deep your curve will go. So what I will do now is to create the curve from here now, I don't have my curve ruler with me. You can use your curve ruler to create the curve. So you can see, so this is my new armhole, and this is my new neck depth, my new neck width. Okay, so now from this point here, remember this allowance here is the same allowance, so from this part here I'll come down by 1 inch. Okay, this part here now I'll come down by 1 inch. You can come down by 2 inches if you want, but 1 inch is okay for me. I'll come down by 1 inch. So this is the 1 inch. I came down from this point, not from the half an inch seam allowance, but below the half an inch seam allowance. I came down by 1 inch, and then I'll be taking half an inch on both sides of the 1 inch. I'll be taking half an inch on both sides of the 1 inch. You can see what I'm doing now. So this is half an inch from both sides, and then I'll connect it back to this point here. You can see what I'm doing, and then from there I'll connect it to the underbust. So I try to like come down by half an inch because I don't want it to be too sharp around this place. So I came down. So now this half an inch too, you also have to connect it back here. You can see. So you also need to create like a bust area around here. So can you see what it looks like now? So this is what it should look like once you are done. So now I'll extend this side, the one at this side. I'll extend it by, you can extend it by 2 inches, you can extend it by 1.5. So let me just use 2 inches. I like to be on a very safe side. So even if you have too much, you can always trim it off. If you have too much, you can trim it off. It's better to have excess than to be short. So now we have succeeded in, okay, this is the half an inch. Sorry, this is the half an inch. I'm just trying to like create it. So hope you understand. From this point below the half an inch seam allowance up here, I came down by 1 inch, and after coming down by 1 inch, I took half an inch on both sides of this 1 inch. Then I connected the half an inch below here to this side, and then this also to this side. And I said when I was connecting the points to the underbust area, I tried to like come down. I didn't connect it to this point because I don't want to have sharp points around here. So I had to like come down by half an inch so that I can have a curved area around here, which is what I have here. So now, because I don't want a straight neck, so I'm going to come down by 1.5, like a V shape, like a V-neck shape is what I'm going for. Okay, so now I'll just use my ruler to connect from this point to this point. So this is my neck depth. This is my new neck depth, and this is my neck width. So another thing is you can just add while measuring the neck width you want. You know, I measured 6 inches, so you can just measure 6.5 just to add your half an inch seam allowance to it. So now after you've created it now, so you now need to measure, take out now the half an inch seam allowance. So I'm just measuring the half an inch seam allowance here now. So this is the 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I'm just going to take the horizontal measurement. So remember I said there's going to be zipper at the front here, right? So I'm taking the horizontal measurement right now. Whatever that allowance you're taking off there, make sure you replace it back, and also the joining allowance to join the darts together, then your seam allowance. So I'm repeating the same thing at the under bust and at the waist area, and once I'm done, I'm going to connect the lines together. So right now I'm connecting the lines, and make sure you connect the armhole where I extended the armhole. Make sure you connect it back. So this is the back. We just take the same measurement I took at the front. So I took away 5 inches, the bust point, the under bust, and then this is the waist. I added extra 1 inch, 1/2 inch for seam allowance, and just 1/2 inch for just extra. So this is the nipple to nipple measurement, and then this is the shoulder to shoulder measurement, and this is the chest line. So now I'm also going to reduce the neck. So the neck width I use for the front is 6 inches, and I'll be using the 6 inches for this as well. This is the 6 inches, and then I'll just connect it to this place, and then I'll just connect the 6 inches here. So this is it. So remember that at the front I came down by 1 inch. After the 1/2 inch seam allowance, I came down by 1 inch for the front, but for the back, all I just need to do is just to come down by 1/2 inch. I'm coming down by 1 inch. I'm coming down by 1/2 inch, which is here. The 1/2 inch is here, okay, and then around the waist area I'll be taking 1/2 inch on both sides of the dart. You can see it, and then I'll connect it. From here to this place. So I'll just go up from the bust point. I'll go up by 1 inch. I'm going up by 1 inch because I don't want any sharp stuff around the bust point there. So I'm just going to connect the line. You can see it. And then I'll do the same thing to this place as well. So this is what it looks like, and then I just connect this 1/2 inch, this that I came here, I just connect it to this place. You can see you don't want any kind of curve around there. It shouldn't be pointed because you don't need any bust for that back, for the back area. So this is what it should look like. So this is what it's going to look like. It's not going to be curvy or anything. Okay, it should be like this. And then I will also extend by 1 inch. I'll extend by 1 inch. You can extend by 1.5, depends on what you want. So I'll extend by 1.5. So this is what it looks like. Okay, so for the back too, I'll also like to extend the back. I think I'll be using the same neck depth for the back, or I can just use 2 inches for the back instead of 1.5. I'll use 2 inches for the back. So this is what the back looks like, and I just connect from here. So, and then I'll have the half an inch for seam allowance. I'll add it. So this is half an inch for the allowance. And so now the next, remember the back does not have zipper allowance, but the front does have. So we are going to be taking the horizontal measurements. I'm taking all the horizontal measurements here as well. My bust, my under bust, my waist, I'm taking everything, and I'm adding all the that allowance I took away. I'm adding back with the joining allowance and also the seam allowance. And then I also connected the new armhole I made. That looks like, you can see there is no curve to any kind of curve around the back, so this is what it should look like. It shouldn't be too, curvy. So make sure you always remember to extend the armhole area so you don't fall short of fabric. You can see by the time I'm done joining it now, I'll end up not having any excess around here.